To solve this exponential equation, the first thing we need to do is make sure that the bases match. So the base of the numerator is 512. The base of the denominator, just look at the 64. We'll modify to get 1 over 64. And then the right-hand side is 512. So looking at all three of those numbers, you always look for the smallest first, so 64. And you ask yourself, can I raise 64 to some power to get the largest one, which is 512? If I try to square 64, that's way higher than 512, so I can't use 64 as my base. So we have to go smaller than base 64. So for instance, let's check out if I can use 8, because I know 8 squared is 64. So can I raise 8 to some power to get 512? And the answer is yes. 8 to the third power is 512. So I could use base 8 for all three of these numbers. So we're going to change all three of those parts to base 8. So for the numerator, 512 is 8 to the third power, and that's still raised to the x minus 2. For the denominator, how do I use base 8 to get 64? Well, 8 squared is 64, right? But in order to get it in the denominator position, all you do is add a negative. So that means my denominator is 8 to the negative second power, and that's raised to the 3x. And the right-hand side, 8 to the third is 512. All right, the next goal is to combine my exponents here using the power rule, which says you multiply your exponents. So on the left-hand side, I would have 8 raised to the, now if I'm multiplying 3 and x minus 2, I have to remember that x minus 2 has two terms. So I have to distribute the 3 to both terms. So 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And that's all over 8 raised to the, so I'm multiplying negative 2 and 3x, which is negative 6x, and that's equal to 8 to the third power. So on the left-hand side of my equation here, I can use the division rule of exponents that says if they have the same base, the base is still 8, right? All I have to do is subtract my exponents. So I need to take 3x minus 6, and I need to subtract that from negative 6x. So let's write that to the side over here. So 3x minus 6, I need to subtract that from negative 6x. So this is 3x minus 6, double negatives make a plus 6x. So 3x is plus 6 more is 9x. So my exponent would be 9x minus 6. So this was 8 raised to the 9x minus 6. That's what the left-hand side of the equation simplifies as. And the right-hand side is still 8 to the third power. Now that the bases finally match, all I have to do is set the exponents equal to each other. So I set 9x minus 6 equal to 3. So 9x minus 6 is equal to 3. So I need to add 6 to both sides. So I get 9x is equal to 9. And if I divide both sides by 9, I get x is equal to 1.